This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. And excuse me. And we got a lot of things to discuss this morning. So it's going to be a little bit different meeting rather than just having a presentation. If you saw my announcement of the meeting, I put a number of things on the agenda for today. Particularly, it's becoming important now that there's a lot of stuff happening and New Year coming up and so forth. So, well, that didn't sound good.
Yep, I'm sick.
Who's that?
This is Lori.
Oh, Lori. Well, that's not fun. Not allowed to be fun, to be sick.
No.
Okay, well, let's jump in and get started this morning. I don't see anybody new on the call today. Do we have anybody that I've missed? Okay. Well, again, want to thank our sponsors, Care First Health Plan, United Way, Valley of the Sun, Karen Ziegler Consulting, Khajiit, Triad, SB, the Broadcasting Association, and of course, we're looking for new sponsors, particularly as we go into next year. So, with that said, I want to talk a little bit about the agenda this morning. Let me get down here. So this morning, we're going to talk about a number of things. Well, first of all, Sandeep, I don't think he's online yet, but I think he's planning to be here a little later today. So I want to just briefly talk about what the agenda is going to look like today. Want to talk about, first of all, a change of date and time for the task force. And I know that we've discussed this before, but I did have conversations both with Sandeep and with Nicole, both of whom are very important with the processes that are going on right now and the funding and so forth. And it's very difficult. Both of them tentatively generally have conflicting meetings at this time with federal agencies. And so they can't always be here for these meetings. So they asked, can we change the date and the time? And so I wanted to discuss that, and we'll get to that in a minute. Of course, want to hear our usual updates. Want to talk about the plan to update our comprehensive state plan that we did back in 2020. It's time to do that. I know several people have suggested that we think about that. And there's several other things on the agenda this morning. So that's kind of the agenda for this morning. Are there any announcements before we jump into that? I know that there's a cybersecurity breakfast forum coming up this, I think it's Wednesday or Thursday at the University of Arizona. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong one. Cybersecurity breakfast with the Arizona Technology Council and the Arizona Cyber Threat Response Alliance. You should have that announcement in the email I sent out. Mark, do you want to say anything about that? I don't think I saw Carla on the call this morning.
Sure. I'll post the link in the chat as well. Great breakfast. I think it's in its 6th or 7th year. Good half-day solid program, but it is a in-person event only. It's at a venue called Venue 86 in North Scottsdale, so no hybrid option for that. And I don't know if there's an AZBSN discount recognized. Carla would have to speak to that, but I'll put the announcement in the chat.
Okay, and I did, of course, include that in the email announcement that I sent out announcing this meeting today. So the next thing is on Friday, on the 9th, is the 7th annual Cyber Southwest Symposium, which is a different event than the one we just announced. And that's going to be at the U of A Student Union. It's presented by the National Defense Industry Association, Southwest chapter of the Arizona Cyber Threat Response Alliance, Arizona InfraGard, and Arizona Cyber Initiative. And so I did talk with the chair, the person who's coordinating that event. I actually met him many years ago, and he is very interested. He may or may not join us on the call this morning, but he's very interested in collaborating with us. There is a promo code theoretically through December 2nd for free attendance. If that's a problem with anybody and you want to attend that, that's also an in-person event. Are there other events or announcements that anybody wants to talk about?
Tech Council mixers are both this week, aren't they? Thursday is Tech the Halls in Phoenix and Tempe, and I think the Tucson one's going on this week as well.
Yes, and again, those are both announcements are in the email meeting announcement that I sent out last week. What else? Any other announcements that people need to make of events coming up?
Yes. Good morning, Steve. This
Morning,
is
Jerry.
Poe. I'll let Mark. Mark is going to present his annual update on telecommunications, 5G and 6G to the Phoenix chapter of the IEEE Computer Society. That's a week from Wednesday on the 14th at Grand Canyon University. Mark may have something else to say about that, but everybody's welcome to attend.
And that is a hybrid event, so it'll be snacks and networking at 6 and a 7 to 9 presentation. You can take that remote. And Jerry, is Eventbrite up for that yet?
Yes. Well, yes and no. I got your stuff yesterday, and I will have an email out to my list today.
Right.
So the Eventbrite will be up today or tomorrow at the latest.
I'll
Jerry,
post something in the chat so people can find the website.
Okay.
yes, and also, Jerry, I always steal any of those announcements from the chat and include them in the follow-up to the meeting.
All right. We always have good attendance, and we are pleased to be. This is only our second time we're live again. You know, we've been Zoom all through the pandemic. So.
Okay.
Kelly Green, the COO with SciTech Institute's on with us right now. She's talking about STEM Fest in the chat. Kelly, you want to say a few words?
Kelly, are you there?
If I know Kelly, she's got 3 screens going. She's probably in 6 different meetings.
Okay, actually, thanks. I'll remember to include that in the announcement.
Yeah, I was looking for the mute button.
There she is.
And embarrassing because my voice sounds funny, but we are running this STEM Fest again, and it's our official launch of the 12th season of the Arizona SciTech Festival. So we'd like to invite you all out if you're interested in coming. Just send me an email so I make sure you're on the ticket list. Children 12 and under get in free, but we'll also have additional SciTech friend tickets available. I was thinking that we might want to do like a quick flash talk about what's been happening with the broadband network. So the 30-minute slot sessions on our screen, but those will be running both Saturday and Sunday. Saturday is exhibitor only for purchase. There's also stage sponsorship if your organization is interested.
You're breaking up, Kelly. I don't know if that's you or me, but you're breaking up.
Okay, I'll put it in the chat.
That's better. Yeah, so be sure. And I did have the announcement, and I will include that in the in my follow-up to this meeting. Okay.
One more, Steve.
Yeah, go on, Mark.
ASU has just announced their 5th annual Smart Region Summit. That'll be February 1st at the Hurd Museum. The full details aren't available yet, but the save the date announcement is up, and I'll post a link to that.
Yeah, and thank you, Mark. Remind me, I did get that that announcement also, and I will include that in upcoming events. Okay, anything else? Okay, let's move on. What I'd like to do is to do some quick updates and then get into some discussion about a number of things that are happening here. I didn't see Mala. Mala, are you online?
Yes, I am.
Oh, there you go. So Mala, you want to give us a quick update, what's
Yes,
happening?
I'm sorry I missed last week, so I have to catch up on Sandeep's announcements and talk. I was on vacation and got back this morning. Imagine getting up for you, Steve, early morning and start the week with you. Okay.
What better way to start the meeting, to start the
I
week
know.
and coming back from vacation?
I know.
It's like a party.
Yep. So not much except that we had another 5,000 people sign up, household sign up during this last week. That is the week of 14th to 21st, just before Thanksgiving. So we are now off for ACP. So that makes it almost 10,000 from the beginning of the month to the 21st. That we are now at 335,870 households that had signed up, still going strong, and hope we continue that trend. The cybersecurity has been a key topic during this last couple of weeks with Funds for Learning as well as with Shelby. Shelby is the schools, health, libraries, broadband coalition. And Funds for Learning actually on 15th of November submitted a proposal for a pilot cybersecurity E-rate program to FCC. And they had a meeting with Jessica Rosenworcel on the 22nd and with a lot of FCC staff as well. And the proposal was that E-rate program should allow funding for all firewalls, hardware, software, firewall features in the services without distinction. And whether it is basic or advanced capabilities, because it is absolutely essential. They talked about a annual funding for firewalls to be capped between 60 to 120 million per year, and prioritize applicants with higher NSLP discounts. The NSLP is a National School Lunch Program discounts. So based on that, they wanted the prioritization of who gets funded first, and that they be eligible, firewalls be eligible as category 2 funding versus category 1. The difference is that category 1 is for internet, and there is no cap on that. It is paid based on your discount, but there's no cap on it. Whereas for category 2, there is a budget cap for each entity. And that budget cap is based on the square footage for libraries, and it is based on student count for schools. So they did suggest that if funding was an issue, that the cap could be based on the category 2 spending. There is also an analysis that Funds for Learning has done to show that the category 2 funding has not been utilized to the maximum that each entity is eligible for. So there is funding in that part available. So that was a really good proposal, and FCC staffers took a lot of notes, and we understand that they paid attention to the request. So hopefully we will see some change. Not sure, especially this is the lame duck session, and we still don't have Gigi Sohan's confirmation, which also they're trying to get through during this lame duck session. So let's see what happens. And at the same time, Shelby has also drafted a template, which I will send you, Steve, to put on the website. And this is a template that schools and libraries can use if they want to support the proposal for firewalls and to be included in the eligible services list for next year.
So Mala, was there some discussion about how that would be rolled out? How that funding would flow? Would it go through the states? Everybody, each E-rate provider would be able to apply for that? Does it go through the providers? How, and what was there discussion about that whole process?
Normally, when FCC does any of these rulemakings, there is a period of time when they allow for questions and comments and counter comments after that. But E-rate does not go through states and any other entity. It goes through FCC, it goes through USAC, and you apply in the normal process for category 1 or category 2. So it isn't something that a grant would be given for it. They would apply for it just as they would apply for E-rate.
Got it. Thank you. Anything else, Mala?
No, thanks. Back to you, Steve.
Okay. Holly, are you on? Yeah, I see you're on. Do you
Yes.
have anything you want to
I
add?
am. No, I don't. Thanks.
Okay. Don't want to make any comments about the election. Okay, Mala and Janet, I don't know if there's been anything new or different with the telehealth and libraries project. What's happening with that, if anything?
No updates yet, except that Pima County is using their bookmobile to promote telehealth, and they're working on a pilot project, again, another pilot that to send out the telehealth equipment that we had purchased for them through their bookmobiles to remote locations to demonstrate its availability and for any of the members, any of the public to come to the library and use the service within the library. So we're working on that with Pima County and working on another project with the Navajo Nation, which is not ready for prime time yet, but we'll let you know soon.
Okay. Michelle, are you online?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you want to add anything, Michelle? About the Pima County
Oh, about
telehealth
the
project?
the telehealth project. We are, I know in the very near future, we will have an event at the Salazar Ajo Library, and I know that's something that Ken is coordinating both with Janet and Mala to make that happen. And I know the event in Arivaca was very successful. They made it a community event, and people were excited to see all of the services that could be provided as a result of this telehealth project. So we're excited to continue on with it and see how we can make it a little bit bigger than what we just started.
Okay, well, it's a very exciting project. It's really cool. And a great example of collaboration. The state library and telemedicine and Pima County and I guess lots of other folks. So really congratulate you guys. Moving on, Janet, I'm glad you're joining us this morning. And first of all, I saw in the chat, yes, the last week's meeting is posted. And I put the link into the meeting announcement and today's meeting announcement, so you should be able to find it online.
Thank you. So Mala and I can catch up.
Yeah.
I also wanted to add that, we're very fortunate. The Pima County Health Department has also been able to work on their staffing and challenges, and they are also partnering with the libraries to start going ahead and putting their mobile health program back out in the field, which is awesome because that means that people can be receiving care, school physicals, vaccinations, you name it. And they were very active in the past, and now they're going to be at it again, which is great news. And it is a wonderful project that I'm honored to be part of. The other thing I wanted to share is this is hot news from Friday. The next round of RUSDLT grants has been released, and there are some new aspects of the grant. They do have stipulations with regards to cybersecurity in this grant, which is new. They also have different scores for different sites and locations, but also for projects. And there have been some really creative K through 12 projects in telehealth that have been paid for by this grant. We did a play on diabetes with the Girl Scouts, did a lot of great work with diabetes. Federal entities also apply for this grant, and it's a 15% match. And if you want to know the details, we're going to have a great webinar with experts that know this grant in and out on Wednesday of next week from 11 till 12, and that registration should be up shortly on our website. Thank you.
Okay, anything else, Janet?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, Department of Education. Don't know if any of you folks are online. Karina, Sophia, Mylan, Kelly, Shelby, anybody online this morning?
Hi, Steve. This is Karina Jones. I am
Hi.
online.
Hi, Karina. You have anything that you want to report
nice
this
to be
morning?
here. Nothing to report. Just excited to be here and continuing to work with you guys.
Great. Well, we really appreciate the Department of Ed's collaboration. And you and I think are meeting this week also to kind of talk more about how we can collaborate.
Yes, Wednesday. Looking forward to it.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, Cindy, do you have anything that you want to add? Digital inclusion updates?
Yeah, good morning, Steve. Just that the Arizona Digital Inclusion Network is meeting every other Thursday from noon to 1. And we're talking a lot about how we can provide input and support to the digital equity plan for the state. So, and we're also kind of on standby waiting to hear who may be applying for the ACP outreach grant and being able to partner or support that effort.
Okay, thank you. Erin, are you on the line today? I don't think so.
She isn't, but Alicia is.
Oh, okay. Alicia, do you have anything that you want to provide an update?
Good morning, all. No, I actually don't for this week, but can just appreciate being here and your support.
Okay. And Nicole is not here this morning. I don't see Derek. Rory, I think you're online. Do you want to say anything about what's happening with the Final Mile project?
No, it's all going well. We almost finished St. John's last week. Ran into some weather issues. Our guys will be back to Thursday, finish it up. We got we'll be working on Forest Lakes, Chevron Butte later next week. We're scheduling a lift truck out there, but all the equipment's here finally. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. All right. Any other updates or announcements before we get into the discussions about on the agenda today? Okay, going once, going twice, hearing none. So I have a lot of things I want to talk about today. First of all, is the change of date and time for the task force. We've been meeting this time for the past 2 years. Seems to work pretty well, although I do hear from people of saying 7:30 a Monday morning, what is that? Since right now there's some critical things happening, and it's really important that we have our state broadband manager and also Nicole with NTIA participating in the call, and both of them frequently have federal meetings at this time on Monday mornings, and they can't, well, it's in Washington, it's a different time, of course, but they can't attend the meetings all the time. And I think it's particularly important that they be here. So I wanted to share with you that I think it's time to seriously think about changing the meeting date, and first of the year is coming up, and so maybe this is a good time to do that. But I'd like to hear from you folks about should we change, and if so, you know, what's a good time? Late afternoon, noontime, Is there a good day? I mean, I know it's always difficult to schedule meetings, but I'd like to get some input from you.
So Steve, if they're the two, I think we need to know what their availability is, because we can change it and then they're still not available. So if we don't know what their feedback is on what works for them, then we're not going to be, we could be in the same boat.
Yeah, I have talked with them, and the only thing that was most difficult, I mean, obviously there's always meetings coming up, but the most difficult thing for them was this time of the day. But I'd like to hear from folks about what's the ideal time, and then again, I'll follow up with them, Sharika, and Sandeep may actually be on the call a little bit later this morning. But I'd like to hear from you folks about, is there a good, should we change it? And if so, what's the ideal time for most of you? Is a late afternoon good, noontime? I mean, I know it's always difficult no matter what time we pick, but generally, what are folks thinking?
Are they able to come at 8 because, or 8:30? I do think for them in VC. Sorry, I don't know if that's me.
Yeah, 8:30 may be a possibility, and I can check with them. Sandeep generally tries to join us later in the morning, so we can certainly look at that. Any other thoughts?
You could use this is Drew from Common Sense. You could set up a doodle poll with some times that Sandeep and Nicole are available, and let everyone choose.
Okay, I can do that. Any other thoughts?
For me, afternoons, I can hit first thing in the morning because nothing's happening, but once afternoon hits, I'm pretty much wrapped, but I'm only one person, so.
Well, of course, that's why we did 7:30 in the morning, because that was a time when we didn't have a lot of conflicts. Okay, any other comments or thoughts?
Yes, Steve, this is Mala.
Yeah, Mala.
We could start a half hour later and then do whatever updates and other business, and then have Steve and Nicole join us if they find that the later time suits them. Because as Sharika said, once the day starts, it is harder to schedule, to consistently attend. Let me put it that way.
Okay, so how does that sound, that we start at 8 o'clock and that hopefully they can join us before the meeting is over?
We'll check with them if that's going to work, but
Is
I
that-
also agree that by the time you get to midday and afternoon, I don't have regular things, but I almost always have something.
Okay. All right, well, I'll try that. I will talk to both of them and see if that works for them, and if that works, then we'll just change. We'll start a half hour later and see how it goes. Okay.
Hey, Steve, did they say that the issue was the time of day or the day itself? I mean, Mondays for a lot of day job people are like the worst day.
Yeah, it's mostly
for scheduled meetings.
Apparently, it's Monday mornings that seem to be the biggest problem for them.
Okay.
I mean, we can look at another day of the week. I don't know how you folks feel about that. Comments? Okay.
I'd vote for Tuesday. Monday
That's
morning
like
is
earlier in the
hardest
week.
for us.
I would too, Rory, and Janet just put Tuesday at 7:30 is good. It just seems like Monday's like the worst day of the week to try to.
If you're going to move it to Tuesday, do it at 8. We don't need necessarily to start at 7:30. My thought.
I have to agree with everyone.
Sharika, Tuesday do not work for Sharika.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mondays are really bad for me as well. That's our craziest day as well. So.
Okay, so are we thinking the Tuesday? I'm sorry, Kirk, did you say Sharika? Is that not a good day for you?
Correct. Every Tuesday and Thursday I have 8 a.m. meetings.
Ooh, well, that's
But
not
like
good.
I said, I'm one person.
Yeah.
Yeah, every Tuesday, Thursday.
Okay. Well, how about Wednesday?
Wednesday works for me too.
So
Wednesday.
everybody, Steve, everybody's avoiding Friday, but that seems to be,
Well, we
you
can do
know, when you
Friday.
talk about how you're wrapping up the week, I don't know if that would be a good time to wrap up what's happened in the broadband world for that week. If we did it on Friday.
Friday works for me.
Yeah, my Wednesdays and Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are my mornings, are my light days. Tuesday, Thursdays are slam. So that's just me.
So how are people thinking about Friday? Friday at 8?
Sure, the energy would be a lot higher.
The
Going
only
once.
problem with a Friday is if there's follow-up after the meeting, a lot of times people wouldn't have time to get it done. So that's the only concern I have on a Friday.
Okay, well, so what are we thinking? I understand your concern, but obviously no matter what day we pick is going to be a bad day. But I think based on what I'm hearing, that maybe Friday at 8 is the best solution.
I think we send it back to Nicole and Sandeep and ask them what's their best day, and then we work around that.
Okay, good thought. I will do that.
I also like that doodle poll as well. I think it'll help everybody kind of put their 2 cents in and see where everybody fits in.
Okay. Friday. So tentatively Friday at 8 o'clock sounds good, but I can do a doodle poll. I will talk to Sandeep and Nicole and see if that works for them. Okay. Are we good?
Good.
Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is for us to update the task force comprehensive state plan that we did back in 2020. And I have talked with John Kelly and Karen Ziegler and Jan Schiller about taking the lead on getting that done. We talked about, we have not met as a group yet, but we did talk about that we would like to get, of course, get input, and I will meet with them to talk about how do we best proceed to get input from people. It's particularly important right now with all of the planning money coming down the road. It gives us an opportunity to kind of provide some input from the task force. So any thoughts or comments about that? Okay, I guess everybody's happy about that. So the next thing is discussion and a special meeting to discuss Arizona's response to the National Broadband Map and Mapping Challenge process. And excuse me, Mala, as you commented, we had fairly lengthy discussion last time, as well as during our kibitzing about that whole process and about the mapping and all of that sort of stuff. So based on that discussion, obviously we could get into a lot of detail at these meetings to do that. So I do want to schedule a separate meeting to do that. And I did talk to Rory, excuse me, and who else did I talk to?
Paul.
And Paul. Yes, thank you. I have a good memory, just a little shocked. So I did talk to Paul Ross and to Rory about taking a lead to help with that planning. Obviously, Nicole is going to be important to that. Sandeep is going to be important to that, and others. But I would like to schedule a time sooner than later. What's the deadline for submitting? It's in January, is it not?
January 13th.
Yeah. So
and that is one of the core elements of Sandeep's, the ACA's current RFP with responses due on the 16th. So they will have an internal process for formal state pushback, but literally any consumer can click on the map and input, and some groundswell of crowdsourcing could be a useful adjunct to, for example, what the state will themselves formally do.
Yeah. And of course, Sandeep has always communicated with me that any input from this task force about things that are happening are more than welcome. So again, I will connect with him. Is there a preferred date or time for us to do that meeting?
I'm open anytime after Wednesday.
Okay. So times, any preferences for anybody? Late afternoon, a better time? Maybe late afternoon Thursday? Actually, I don't know. I can't do this Thursday. Any other preference times?
No, any of those times anything Wednesday or Thursday or Friday works fine.
Okay. Anything else regarding the mapping?
I had one question for the group. Does anyone know how many unserved broadband serviceable locations Arizona has?
No, not me, sorry.
Okay, that's fine. I'm looking at there have been some mapping people who've been working on this, trying to calculate like the total number of national unserved BSLs, broadband serviceable locations, because it would be very helpful to motivate challenges if we could calculate how much extra money each state will get allocated if it successfully challenges an area. So I can update on that as I hear more from the conversation, but if anyone ever gets any information about the number of BSLs, broadband serviceable locations in Arizona, that would be helpful.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, moving on. I did talk to Nicole the other day, and she is planning, and Mark, I had meant to follow up with you and Kirk with you, that she is planning to convene, and I believe she has been in touch also with Sandeep about convening industry listening sessions, which is a part of her charge and NTIA's charge about getting input from providers. And so she tentatively has a date scheduled for January the 11th and January the 18th. And those are repeated meetings. They're not different content. And so those meetings, however, are for industry people. It's not an open meeting for everybody, but specifically people in the broadband industry. So any questions or comments about that? So when I get more,
there will be an ATIC board meeting on January 11th from noon to 2. So hoping that's not a time she's going to try to use.
Okay. Well, Mark, I don't know if you want to touch base with her also. I did remind her that, that you were thinking about something in relationship to, particularly relationship to Kirk's event coming up.
Right, certainly.
So I did remind her that she should connect with you and Kirk about that. Okay, moving on. Anything else about any of those things so far? So the next thing is as you all know, or I think you know, is that the Commerce Authority has released an RFQ and an RFP for planning and consulting services. And I want to go into a little bit of detail. And then anybody who, I don't know if Sandeep has joined us or not. So I'm going to go over this stuff quickly, and probably Mark, you probably even know more about this than I do. So I'm sorry, before we get into that, I want to talk about the FCC Affordable Connectivity Outreach Grant, which is going to be due shortly. And we wanted to have a discussion with anybody that we know, and whether they are or not a part of this task force, to have a discussion about who's planning to submit that grant, if there is a way for us to do something jointly and collaboratively. At this point, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, Mala or anybody else, that there is no requirement for the state to do a plan and or approve any of those grants. although theoretically they could if they wanted to do that. But so if we did any kind of a joint or collaborative plan, it would have to be some kind of a voluntary commitment of some kind. So we wanted to be able to schedule a meeting. Also, I know, Robert, you're planning to attend, to apply. I believe Aaron's planning to apply. Common Sense, have you guys made a decision yet, Drew?
We're talking with Aaron. Yes, we're looking at the application right now. And it would be helpful, Steve, or Cindy, if we had like a list of everyone in Arizona that was looking to apply, just so we can make sure that we were all collaborating or interested in applying, because there may be some benefit to like combining as like sub applicants on these grants, just so that, because the application itself can be kind of hard.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's as much as possible that we can identify who's planning to apply. And again, if we can bring folks to the table and have some discussion about how we can best collaborate together.
And Drew, you mean people wanting to apply and be actual partners, or
interested,
interest in partner, interested,
or just like interested in doing work with the ACP, just like people who should be named or considered in a grant application. So like if, say, Common Sense applies to continue our marketing campaign, but someone else is interested in like doing some events, but they don't want to file their own application, then maybe we could join together so that we could apply to get the money to sort of pass on to them for the events or whatever. So I'm just trying to keep track of all that stuff.
I can send out an email to the ADIN membership list and see if we get any response that way. We've been talking about it, but we didn't know who was applying, so we didn't really know where to direct our.
Yeah, we're probably going to apply, and we're talking to Aaron about that right now. It's just the application requires some like level of detail and budgeting and timelines and stuff that is, I want to be specific about, or as specific as possible.
Sure.
Because there's going to be oversight too. So we just want to make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's.
Absolutely. So are you saying that you and DEI will do this together, or you're each going to do your own?
That's like, we're trying to, whatever is best suited to the application. But like to make those decisions, we like have to decide what activities we're going to do and like how we then structure the grant. So it's trying to think through it all right now.
Yeah.
And so getting organizations that are interested in what activities they're interested in doing would just be helpful.
And Robert, I know you're online, so go ahead, Robert.
I was just gonna say, yeah, we're looking at applying and we're still trying to figure out, what we're gonna do. We want to do it within our 5 states, just getting, the digital inclusion going in those areas. So yeah, definitely let us know when you guys want to meet. We can go from there, but we're still trying to figure it out as well. Last week was a rough one for us. We had a lot of retreats, and this is our huge event month, doing stuff for the community. Last week we had a couple of different festivals or events going on for the community. So we're this week trying to figure out, okay, what we're gonna do and how we're gonna approach it. So we're still, I think, like you, Drew, we're still trying to figure out what that's gonna look like. But yeah, definitely if we touch base, maybe that'll help.
So can we tentatively schedule a time for that meeting this week? Is there, going back to the discussion we had earlier, is there a good time for obviously we have some key people who are planning to apply. And so Robert, obviously you and Drew and Aaron, and I don't know who else is planning to apply at this
Mala.
And Mala, well, Mala definitely should be there. But Mala, you guys are not planning to apply if I'm not mistaken.
Not separately, Steve. Unless Holly, have you had any discussions about it? Because I don't know.
We've been looking at it and I think you're correct that we would not apply, but we want to certainly want to, collaborate.
Mhm. Yes, we can certainly support and work as partners because many of our libraries have already been promoting ACP and especially Pima County has been doing a lot in this area. And
Right.
we really, and one of the requirements, or at least what they say in the checklist is that anyone who has been doing work in this area gets brownie points for it. So yes, it would be great to include the libraries as partners.
You guys, this is Michelle. Just know that Pima County and Pima County Public Library is willing to help host events, sign up events, troubleshooting events, all of the things with internet service providers. So count us in on some of these discussions.
Okay.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Who is that again?
That was Michelle.
This is
Pima
Michelle.
County.
Okay.
Mhm.
So here's my plan is that, can we pick a tentative time? It really needs to be this week. I hate to do it. I mean, even if it's after 5 o'clock or 7:30 in the morning or whatever works. I cannot do Friday. Thursday is a possibility. Any thoughts about, can we do something on Thursday, early morning, late afternoon, evening, have a dinner party? What are people's thoughts?
Thursday after 9 works for me. I have a 8 to 9, and then I'm open 9 to 11.
Okay. So can we do a 9 to 10:30? Maybe it won't take that long, but tentatively Thursday at 9 o'clock.
I could do that.
Okay.
I could only stay till 9:30, but I can be there at 9.
Okay.
I can't do 9:30. I can't do 9 o'clock on Thursday. I have a previous meeting. Sorry.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Michelle.
That was Michelle.
Yeah, actually, shoot. Yeah.
So that does not work then.
Right, I can't do, yeah, I misspoke. I can't do 9 either.
Okay. Can we do a late afternoon on Thursday, like 4 o'clock?
I can, Cindy can.
Yeah, 3 or 4 works.
Okay.
This is Michelle. I can do that too.
Okay. How about 3 o'clock? Does that work, or you rather do 4?
Either one for Cindy.
Robert, how about you?
3 would be great.
Okay. Okay, so I will get that out today. I will send that to the task force. And if you know of anybody who you think will be applying, please let them know, and we will. Again, I'll send out an invite today, and please forward that to anybody you know who might be interested. And again, it might be a lead entity, or it might be somebody who wants to partner, collaborate, or whatever. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Moving on. So the big thing right now, as you probably all know, is that there's 2 things that the Commerce Authority has released: an RFQ and an RFP. For planning and consulting services. So I should have put the deadline in here, but let me go through quickly. And Mark, I know you're probably as knowledgeable as anybody about this. I will share with you at least what I understand to be the key things that they're looking for with the RFQ. And then we can get into the other, the RFP in just a moment. So as I understand it, and I took this directly from their documents, and I have sent this out, you guys should all have a link to the RFQ with a link to be able to download their documents. And I will send that out again with a follow-up to this meeting. But as I understand it, the scope of work for that RFQ is to create a 5-year broadband action plan with the goal of providing broadband access to every Arizonan that meets or exceeds all requirements specified by NTIA, Broadband Equity Access and Deployment BEAD Program guidelines. So that's the first thing. Second is to develop a statewide digital equity plan and grant program as specified by the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA, of course, a digital equity program. Third is to develop geospatial assets that include a statewide broadband coverage map to validate or challenge the Federal Communications Commission location fabric maps as specified in the 2020 Broadband Deployment Accuracy and Technological Availability Act, the Broadband Data Act, that shows served and unserved locations throughout Arizona. Again, this is all in the RFP. You can download the document, and of course, it has a lot more information and details.
Actually, Steve, you have to request the document. It'll
Yes.
get mailed to you within a few hours.
That's correct. Thank you, Mark, for that. The link is there for you to be able to request that document.
And the reason for that is there may be addendums or other communications. And so that's why they never make these things directly downloadable. They want you to enter your contact info so they can keep you updated.
Okay. So the next thing is to develop a comprehensive strategy and roadmap for a statewide digital infrastructure deployment plan, which includes advanced applications and use case development. So again, I have sent out that information in the email that I sent announcing this meeting. It has the links, it has the contact information from the procurement and grants manager, so that you can get any information and questions that you may have. If I'm not mistaken, and I don't know whether Sandeep has joined us, I got to check here. I don't think he joined us today, but I do think he has some problems with being able to talk with people now that that RFP is out. So you really need to talk to the, and Karen, you may know better than I do about that. Karen, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, Steve.
No
Find
problem.
the mute button. As far as speaking about the RFP, is
Yeah.
that what your question was?
Yeah.
The Commerce Authority is going to be very limited in being able to discuss, what they're looking for outside of what is on the RFP. Terry Orman, their procurement officer, in that email that she sent out, questions regarding the RFP, I think, are due today. So once everybody submits all the questions, they'll answer it, and then they'll share all those answers to anyone that's on the list. So if you're interested, I recommend that you just get put on the list, and then you'll get all of the feedback when they share it with everyone.
So as we indicated, that if you go to download that document, you will then be put on the list. You have to put in your contact information, and then you will get any inputs and updates and so forth. Am I correct about that, Karen?
Yes.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions or additional input about that RFQ at this point? I guess one thing I should mention, if I understand correctly, is that they're going to be looking for multiple organizations. Theoretically, it could be one entity, but I think they're looking for multiple organizations to apply for different pieces of this. And so you may say, well, there's one small piece of this that I think we would be interested in and capable and would like to apply for. So don't assume that just because they've listed these things that you are not eligible. So just want to just want to emphasize that. In my conversations with Sandeep, he's been very clear about having as much input and engagement as possible. And so when I've talked about us updating our plan, that this will be a good opportunity for us to address some of these issues.
Yeah, Stephen, like Sandeep explained last week, you can apply for one bullet or many bullets. And I think they're probably going to handle this like they did with the broadband or the grant writing RFP they did a couple years ago. You get put on a list. And so when they have specific tasks, they'll go to that approved list and pick individuals or businesses off that list to perform services. So things like the plan, I think it will be awarded to a particular, vendor, but there's other things on that list that may be ongoing work.
I would think the mapping would also, it requires very specialized depth and competencies in GIS and other matters. So I would think that would be another one that will definitely have a prime contractor.
Okay. What else? Anybody have any more input about the RFP before the RFQ before I go to the RFP?
Just that they do provide, besides the PDF of the RFP, a Word form that you use to structure your application. So it's not all that difficult, at least compared to some of the grants and other proposals I've been doing of late. So they will provide a Word template for your response.
Okay. Do we know anybody who's planning to apply at this point?
I'm certainly going to apply as International Research Center to be a hope for utility player more than own any of these things. I imagine there'll be a dozen or more people from our AZBSN cohort that do apply in some manner.
And if I understand correctly, Mark, Karen, that people outside of Arizona can also apply. So it's not limited
of
to just
course.
Arizona applicants. Okay.
Certainly, the state has recent history with large consulting national firms that often have local presence, but EY, KPMG, big players like that.
Yeah. Okay, anything else regarding the RFQ, excuse me. Okay, so the next thing is the RFP for Arizona Middle Mile Fiber Infrastructure, Operations, Maintenance, and Commercialization. And again, Mark, do you want to say anything about that?
Well, yeah, this is the result of a process that started maybe 18 months ago when the ADOT put out an RFI looking for ideas on how to structure a public-private partnership to manage and expand and augment the middle mile infrastructure that the state would own, largely along ADOT right-of-way, but possibly elsewhere. So, Sun Corridor Network and many others replied to the earlier RFI. This is the natural, though somewhat delayed, progression of that process. So ADOT's looking for probably a single entity. KPMG did all their early work. They would, in some senses, it seems to me, have an inside track if they're going after this. But this will be a single company, likely a large company with substantial bandwidth and resources that they will look to take over the ADOT portfolio of fiber assets, commercialize it, and as I say, augment it over time, use a plan for revenue gotten to both maintain and extend that infrastructure over time.
Okay. Any questions or comments about that? Okay. So obviously lots of stuff's happening. And as I mentioned earlier, that we're going to try to update our plan for that the task force developed. it's we're probably way past time to do that. And with all the stuff happening, it'll provide us an opportunity to develop some of our thoughts and recommendations, which of course will then feed into the RFQ and the plans, the broadband consulting services, once that's up and running. So any other announcements, any other issues, anything else that people want to talk about? Don't everybody talk at once. Yeah, let me kind of glance through the chat here real quickly, see if there's anything.
Yeah, I just posted a final thing in the chat for today for me. I know I always have a queue of things ready often for this meeting. But Google did publish an interesting study, the first of 3 parts on the future of education. So part 1 is available for simple download, I believe, even without registration. You just click on it, and 2 more parts, but a fairly forward-looking study on the future of education. So I do recommend that.
Okay.
And Steve, I'd also like to say, we haven't talked about it in a while, we really need AZBSN's leadership team to be formed. It's well past time. There's so much happening. And it would be good to centralize a little bit of thinking and coordination in that way.
I agree. Okay, anything else? Anything else for the good of the order? If not, we will see you all next week. I think we're done for today. We will stay online if anybody wants to chat for a while.